Hello, today is Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. Welcome to Generally Speaking. I'm your host, Bill Lawrence. Remember to hit the like, subscribe, and notify button. Yes, 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 of course. All right, so let's start off with just an odd thing about animals in the sea. This fellow does these animal videos. His name is Odd Danny, and he's talking about an isopod. What's an isopod? Well, it's a lobster-looking thing, and it's deep down in the deep abyss, deep, deep, deep abyss. And he was describing all these things about its anatomy, this, imagine that, razor sharp teeth, the other thing. But what I thought was interesting was these things have been documented to go for 5 years without eating. 5 years without eating. Wow. All right, so much for animal stuff. Let's go. This is from Midas Touch and a young lady named Suri Crow. She was talking about the Department of Justice scrubbed from its website data from the National Institute of Justice, which showed that since 1990, the far right extremists are the ones that do the most killings. Really? Okay, let's do the comparison. Left versus right. On the left, we have since 1990, right? 78 killings. And on the right, we have 520. All right, so there we go. Well, that's just one agency, National Institute of Justice. What do they know? Okay, well, this is confirmed also by reports from the Center for Strategic and International Studies. I want to call myself a center, and I'm strategic. I'm going to call this new channel is going to be the Center for Strategic uh, Studies. Generally speaking, add that on the end, right? So, at any rate, they agree with it, as well as the Cato Institute. These are all big names here, and they all say the same thing. And why wouldn't it be that way when you consider that the administration people are always stoking the fires? People like Caroline Levitt saying things like the Democratic Party is comprised of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. Hmm. Yeah, that doesn't rile anybody up. Or when Steve Miller says things like Democrats are a domestic extremist organization devoted exclusively to the defense of hardened criminals, gang bangers, and illegal alien killers and terrorists. Yeah, okay, more stoking the flames. Yes, it's no wonder the right does more bad stuff. Although I suspect there's more to it. I think right leaning people have a certain chemistry and mentality. But meanwhile, pardoned Jay Sixer, one of these January 6 troublemakers that stormed the Capitol, he got pardoned, right? So his name is Christopher Moynihan. What's worth mentioning about him? Well, he said he's going to kill House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Of course, he's being investigated. I don't know how hard he's being investigated, considering the current Department of Justice attitude towards these people that they just pardoned him. But yeah, yep, that's what these guys are like. All right, let's go to another subject. This is from the Young Turks. Um, they're talking about a interview Trump was having with a Fox reporter, a very friendly interview, right? And she was asking him about the disappointing approval numbers, how he's not getting the love, and people are starting to think the tariffs aren't such a good idea. What do you think, Mr. President? And he says, Fox, you guys, you got to get better pollsters. When you get things like saying that they're not loving me, you got to get someone who says that they love me, and then you'll have a good pollster. And as far as the tariffs go, it's just people don't understand. They're too stupid to understand that when these tariffs are hurting them, that it's hurting them. Yeah, they're too dumb. All right, let's go to another story. The administration is setting up to have ICE engage in social media monitoring. Yes, they're setting up two centers, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, to monitor Facebook, TikTok, X, Instagram, etc., just to see what you are up to, what you kinds of things you're saying, what you and your friends think about anything that is important to them, so that they can come knock on your door and have a little conversation. Oh, yeah, that's where we're going to the police state. Every little step down the road is more and more draconic, more and more fascistic. And they say, don't call us a fascist. Every step is going, and wait, it's going to get worse. Wait till you see what else is coming up. All right. So, about this monitoring of the social medias. The right wing hosts are applauding it. They're saying it's great. Yeah, we got to watch these lefties. We got to get them. They're troubles. They're making trouble. It says, but. And this is something that they got to say a but about. If the Dems get in power, then it'll be a crazy bloodbath. Then we're just trying to get the bad Democrats and make a nice, pretty society. If the Democrats come in, they're going to put everybody in jail, all us good patriots. They're going to go and lock us all up, and they're going to go crazy. So maybe it's not such a good idea. It's nice the way they think what's good and what's bad, depending on if it hurts them, not if it hurts the general public. If it's like a generally good idea, it's just when it starts coming to affect them. That's when they start complaining about it. So let's just put a little salt on that. Larry Ellison is the person who just uh, purchased TikTok along with some other media companies. He's saying we have to make sure that all Americans behave. That's right. We're going to monitor you to make sure that you behave. All right, let's go to another story. This is from Kurnow Demo. That's an interesting name, Kurnow Demo. And his site is called Demo Rants. This guy's really eloquent. I love the way he speaks. He puts a great writing together. He's talking about the law that the UK has about mercenaries. That's an interesting concept in the first place. Let me go someplace to kill people for money. I don't care that I'm killing people. I'm going for money. All right, listen, you say there's a just cause. Maybe there's something to it, right? But I don't think mercenaries care too much about a just cause. They're really more about killing. But at any rate, there's a law that says you can't be a mercenary for a country that's attacking somebody that we recognize, which is a strange kind of concept in the first place, because isn't every country on the earth recognized? Yeah, there's France. I recognize France. What are there countries that we don't recognize? Well, at any rate, let's go down where we're going, which is Palestine. The UK recognizes Palestine. So no mercenaries can go to any country that's going to attack Palestine. Any countries doing that right now? Yes, of course, Israel. And there are mercenaries going there, and there are killing the people in Gaza. Well, that's like a tisk tisk and a tut tut. That's what the government does, if it even does that. However, when a doctor posts criticism about Gaza, he gets interrogated by the police. Now he's gone a step too far. Doctor posts criticism of Gaza. We want to have a little word with you. But mercenaries going against our law and going and killing kids, because that's their favorite thing, is see who can shoot them in the head or the leg or the genitals. That's what they love to do. Let's go to another story. This is from the website, the podcast Legal AF. And this time they were hosting Rachel Cohen. She's talking about, and this is where I wanted to say how ICE is getting even worse than this social media monitoring. ICE is purchasing missiles indeed, imagine that, with guided warheads. Why are they purchasing missiles with guided warheads? This is because, I'm just making this up, but, it fits the facts. The whole ICE has been beefed up to where it's like the fourth biggest military in the world. If you just take the money invested in it, fourth biggest military in the world, and it's Trump's personal little gig. He sends them out, go do whatever he wants. He wants them to do, and now they want guided warheads. I'm thinking they want to point them into interior of the United States when they start having a war issue. A little far fetched. In any other world, any other time, it definitely would be far fetched. These days, not so much. All right, what do we got? Another thing here. Annie Andrews. Who is Annie Andrews? Well, she's a person running against Lindsey Graham, piece of slime. Anybody running against Lindsey Graham gets my vote. I immediately sent her $10. Now, listen, I just because you're running against Lindsey Graham doesn't mean you're any better than Lindsey Graham. You could be just another Lindsey Graham, right? But she did have a couple of words that sounded like what I would like. There was something about affordable housing. And I mean, I should have looked into it more. I threw her a couple of bucks. Annie Andrews. So there we go. Now back to the UK again. I like Colonel Damo in the UK. I also like Owen Jones. So he was giving a story about a news station called Sky News, and they were hosting a fellow, or they were giving a story about this fellow Andrew Fox, and how he's Jewish and how he's being persecuted these days with all this Palestine ruckus going on, this anti-Semitism, and he's getting death threats because he's Jewish, and how horrible and terrible that is, right? Yeah, except that he isn't Jewish. He's not Jewish at all, but he is pro-Israel. He's real pro-Israel. He's a pro-Israel propagandist who says photos of dead Gazan kids are actually dolls. Those aren't really dead kids. Those are just dolls put there. So this is Sky News, dependable news you can trust. All right, let's talk about something else. Another hypocritical white Christian pastor man who complains about the moral decrepitude of books at a book fair that his school was having. His daughter said, "Look, there was a book in there with gay people. There was one of those books that had a gay couple," and he's ranting and raving against this. Well, he just got accused of sexually assaulting a minor for years since she was 14 years old. It took her some years before she got the courage, got the wherewithal, to say something about it. You know, Anybody, I think, sex offenders in the male population is just spread evenly across all kinds of whatever ways you want to slice and dice. Men, Christian, non-Christian, Asian, black, white, whatever. I think the sex offense thing goes amongst them all, but it's pointing out when you're going to be so complaining about the decrepitude, the moral decrepitude going on with these books, and then you do that, doesn't look good. All right, we go to another one. Trump, he's taken to court, California, trying to redistrict because Texas tried to redistrict. So California wants to redistrict, but they can't just do it. They had to present a proposition to the population first to vote on to let the state do the redistricting. So it's called Proposition 50. And Trump took them to court, say, Proposition 50, it can't happen, shouldn't happen, can't do it. Well, he lost that case. So yay for that. I don't know how good this is going to be. I saw an analysis that said, look, if every red state and every blue state did the maximum gerrymandering that they could do, the Republicans would win. And, that could win, statistically speaking, if you just say, well, this is how many Republicans are in this district, how many Democrats are in those districts. But if you get Republicans who are really upset at what's going on, that, yeah, they may be Republicans and you might have got them all in one bin, but they might still vote against you. And this is what I am hoping is going to happen. You never know. You can see so many statistics about low poll ratings. Don't trust him on the economy anymore. Don't trust him on international affairs. Don't like him on this. Don't like him on that. Then comes election, they all vote for him. So no telling. So, at any rate, this one is from Colonel Damo. Again, another story. An Israeli. This is a strange story. This has so many twists and turns. It's hard to follow. But essentially, an Israeli land developer was sentenced to 5 years in prison for selling land he did not own in Cyprus, no doubt, no less Cyprus. So the first point out was, well, he's selling land he doesn't own is just a criminal activity. But then there's the reflection on, well, that's what Israelis do. They take the Palestinian land. That's their modus operandi. That's what it means to be an Israeli, is to take somebody else's land. So, at any rate, he got 5 years in prison for doing that. But now, what's strange about this story is, I guess Cyprus is in the middle of a battle with Turkey over who owns which piece of land here. This is where the border is. This is where the border isn't. And so, the land I think that was in question was in the Turkish half of the area. But any rate, it belongs to Cypriots. But the Cypriots can't go on their land because it's under Turkish, um, not ownership, or but it's because it's what's the rule when it's debated who owns it? I don't know. At any rate, there's a discussion going on. There's problems with that land, and the bottom line is these people own the land, and so nobody else can sell it. This guy got 5 years for selling it, but meanwhile, it's your land and you can't go on it. That is a crazy kind of world. All right, so last we got this. Now this isn't last. We got Hawk. This fellow named Hawk. Podcasts. He's talking about some businessmen went to China to do business, I guess, and they came back aghast at how far advanced the Chinese are with their factories and their workforce. They are so far ahead of us. They've got factories that are completely automated. There are no lights on in these factories because there are no humans. You know, the robots, they walk around in the dark. I guess they don't need light bulbs. So they got to use something to see, you know, magnetic strips in the ground, infrared, radar. They got to use something, but they don't need lights, and they're all running around. And that and all the humans are massively well educated. There's a super skilled workforce, which kind of you got to wonder what does the workforce do when there is no workforce? So you got a factory with just machines running and there's no workforce. That's like a question right there. But then there's also this thing about how did it get that way? It got there from Apple. Apple with their iPhones, they needed a more sophisticated workforce, a more sophisticated factory environment, and so they encouraged the Chinese to develop both of those, and they did, and now they're head and shoulders above us and way beyond us. They're talking about their electric cars, for instance, are so superior to anything we have in both efficiency, effectiveness, features, and price. That's why they won't sell them here because they'll just completely, outsell Tesla. They'll completely outsell any American-made car once you see what kind of cars the Chinese have. So, any rate, Chinese ahead of us, and and yeah, well, maybe I don't know. That's that story. So what else? An immigration raid. What's new there? Not really so much, but it was an interesting story. There was a small town in Idaho, Wilder, Idaho. The town is largely Hispanic, and they were having a fiesta. It's a fiesta day. It was a nice, beautiful day out. They were going to have the pinatas. They were even going to have horse races. They got horse country out there. And so some mean, evil, black-hearted person said, "Oh, I gotta call ICE on this. I gotta call Department of Homeland Security. I gotta call Customs Border Patrol. I gotta call everybody I can call, police, local, anything. There's people over there having fun." So, at any rate, a whole million people. Task force of law enforcement came pounding down on these people, arrested all 400 of them. 400. Just grab them, just take them, and detain them until we interrogate you up and down under a spotlight, sitting in a chair, to know where you're from. Are you really belonging here? Do you have any outstanding warrants? And you can't do this, right? You can't just take people off the street. You've got to have a warrant for them. And yet, this is the way ICE has been working all this time. They've just been grabbing people, and nobody says anything. And some people say things, but we can't do anything. Do you see how this works? How this is in your face when authority is the authority, and they can do whatever they want, and you can't do anything about it except maybe make some complaints. And you hope the people in power and authority will do something, except when the people in power and authority are the ones who are the offenders. Yeah, nothing's going to happen. But it just goes to show you how easy it is for things to be taken out of our hands. And it's getting taken out more and more. They've got those monitoring our social media. They're buying missiles with warheads. And there are still struggles against this whole Trump administration. We haven't collapsed yet. We haven't succumbed yet. We haven't actually fallen over dead yet. And hopefully will come out of this alive somehow. I wish I had a happy thought to end this with. If you watched it this far, I'm actually amazed. Most viewers are only in here for 5 minutes, and then that's the end of that. So, but if you did, thank you so much. Remember, like, subscribe, and hit the notify bell. And thank you for watching. And please look for, generally speaking, again, take care.